Hi, my name is Elena. When I was in high school, I had a boyfriend. He wasn't physical once, but he was very emotionally, mentally, and verbal towards me. He was a lot shorter than me and would tell me things in a very nonchalant way about my body. It got to me. He was the definition of a psychopath. Very manipulative, but yet so charming to others. I had many friends, but quickly lost them. Yet his ways did not get through to my friends or parents. I wasn't allowed to hang out with anyone other than him. He didn't fall far from the tree because his parents were the same way. They would tell me how awful my mom was and that she was too hard on me, when in reality, she knew he was a very toxic person to be around with, and tried her hardest to limit our time together. His father would bash my mother because she is 100% Italian. I don't like talking bad about people's parents whatsoever, but it was very terrible at the young age of 13 or 14 years old. But of course, being this young, you are extremely innocent, and that's exactly what this family and himself preyed on. So let's fast forward to the end of my sophomore year. We were still in a relationship, but very shaky. Fight after fight, not being able to do anything. My boyfriend decided to take yet another break from me, where I would be left in tears wondering why I wasn't good enough. So I believe it was a Friday, and I really wanted to see him, but he blew me off to go out with his friends. I get a call at 11 or 12 at night from my friend asking if I was over at my boyfriend's house, which I told her no. This angel from God of a friend informed me that my boyfriend had these girls over his house, and as my friend rode by, he was walking them out to their car, kissing them and hugging them. It took every single strength in me to break up with my boyfriend, seriously. It was awful, but I felt so relieved. But this isn't the story. It begins here. A week before this situation, a girl that was in one of my classes kept talking about a guy with the same name as my boyfriend, and honestly, I didn't put two and two together until someone actually had to tell me this. She would say how great he was, all the gifts he had given her, blah, blah, blah. Can you guess who the girls were at his house? So, after our breakup, my boyfriend and this girl had stalked me from the time we broke up until I was about 21 years old. I can't remember the first thing that started this stalking, but I remember phone call after phone call, text after text, of threats about beating me up or coming to my house. I was a pretty popular kid and was very athletic and not afraid of these calls, but it sure got annoying fast and very upsetting at times. When I got my first car, a boyfriend and a girl keyed my car. Literally keyed. Flattened my tires and poured sand in my gas tank. Of course, I reported it to the police, but nothing really came about. The boyfriend stopped with all the misbehavior after my brother tried to beat him up more than once and actually went to his house and tried to drag him out. She called my parents more than once, telling them that I was irritating her and that I was drunk. I wasn't. My junior year, a year after I broke up with a boyfriend, she came to my house while my mother was out gardening the front lawn to tell her that I was teasing her and harassing her. My mother was very keen on the whole situation and told her to get out. Phone calls continued, texts continued, Facebook messages continued. It was very overwhelming for me. Of course, I did get my revenge with my friends sometimes, which pranks on her, which were really harmless, but well worth it. The beginning of my senior year. Yet again, the car gets keyed. And guess who texted me that my car was keyed? Girl. Claiming she had nothing to do with it, but she saw that it was keyed, etc. Guess whose car was parked next to mine when it got keyed again? Girls. Of course, another police report. Nothing came about again. Literally our drama, or more of her drama, was the certain of the school's attention at this point. I went to a very small high school, so everyone knew about it and everyone knew about her. So obviously this was going a while back. I do forget some things that had happened, but there were a lot of phone calls, etc. Every boy I would date or talk to or mess around with in high school, she also talked to him. Or should I say try to, just to make me upset. Girls' own mother would blame me too, and even call the school to tell them that my mother would give girls' mother dirty looks in town. We both don't even know what girls' mother looks like still, to this day. So, after high school, but I would still get those star 67 phone calls. A few years later, I was working and my work phone rings. Girl's name pops up on our caller ID. I answered, and she said she wanted to talk to the manager. I hung the phone up because God can only imagine, right? The next day, when I wasn't there, she called back to tell my boss that I was an alcoholic and all of these other lies. Of course, I was called in to be questioned just out of protocol, which my boss knew for a fact I wasn't. It doesn't end there. Since that didn't work, she actually had a message to my own father about me to tell him that she was concerned about me and that I was doing dope and selling my body for earning money. First off, I never liked her before this drama happened in high school and never, ever gave her the time of day. My parents were so pissed that she actually had messaged them that they gave her an annoyance in a message. Since the message didn't work, she once called the police on me, telling them I was tailgating her. And it was funny because the time that she called, I was at work. We had the cops show up to my parents' house multiple times because of her lies. And even the police knew she was lying to them. I had to get a restraining order on her twice. Once because she was underage, and again as an adult. Finally, it died down for a couple of years. But here comes girl once again, making fake Facebook accounts, trashing my name all over social media. I just ignored her because I was so drained from 7 years of her lies that I literally did not care anymore. It's been quite some time since I've seen or heard from her, but I'm really hoping it will stay like this. She obviously is a very ill person and needs to get intense help from a doctor. Hopefully she does, even though I really don't like her. But it is very sad that some people can get so jealous of you or become so obsessed with someone else that they literally make them the laughing stock of town.
Hi, my name is John. I have had probably the worst dating life in the history of dating lives. Girls would use me left and right to make their boyfriends jealous, to get in my parents, or they thought I would be some sugar daddy and care for all their money needs. Needless to say, I had given up on finding the right girl for me. Trying to find something to fill my time instead of girls, I started to create things. There was nothing incredible at first, shoes that changed color and sunflower fans. But as I built things, I fell in love with inventing. For the next several years, I worked on small projects, trying to find my great inspiration to build something that would change the world. And I finally found it, a massaging blanket. A blanket that could envelop you and massage you at the same time. It can be used for erotic purposes or for those who are sore and aching. It was going to be the greatest invention ever, and after months of prototypes and failures, I had finally built the finished project. I took it to the nearby invention hall. I needed their approval before it could begin its production launch. I had been so excited. I was positive that it was going to be a major hit. That's why when they refused it, I had been shocked. I walked out of the building and find it raining. The forecast had predicted this, and I had dutifully brought my umbrella for this scenario. Beside me was a girl who seemed to be getting ready to sprint into the rain. There was no umbrella near her. I thought for a moment before calling out to her and offering her my umbrella. She looked shocked that I would offer a stranger my umbrella when I didn't have another one with me, and there would be no hope of it being returned. She politely declined, to which I insisted. "Please take it, I can just run to my car. Besides, I don't mind the rain anyways, it matches my mood." After a few moments of her considering my offer, she gave me a compromise. She told me that she would take my umbrella if I let her cook me a soup to help my mood. I thoughtlessly agreed and we exchanged numbers. I gave her my umbrella and waved before sprinting to my car. I did not think that she would follow through with the soup, but not even an hour after getting home, she contacted me, telling me the soup was ready and requesting my address. She showed up 10 minutes later, soup and my umbrella in tow. I was surprised to see that she showed up, but I let her in and thanked her for returning my umbrella. She in turn thanked me for letting her use it, and then asked if I would like the soup right now. I nodded and led her to the kitchen, taking out 2 bowls so we could share the meal. It felt nice to eat with another person. I had nearly forgotten the feeling. Nearly halfway through the bowl, she asked me what it was that got me feeling so sad. I knew I probably shouldn't have, but I couldn't help myself from launching into the story of my life. All of my failed relationships, finding my passion to be an inventor, how nothing has resulted out of that, how I was completely rejected on a project that I was positive would work. By the end of it, I was sure that this girl would go running to the hills. But she smiled and asked to see my invention. She loved it and requested me to create a similar blanket for her, for which she will pay me. I was glad that someone liked what I did, and I just gave her the blanket which I had made. She happily took that along with her, and she keeps promoting about it with her friends and family. My invention got so popular and people demanded. This way, my bond with her got well. 3 years later, we are engaged and planning our wedding for next spring. The main course will be soup. Hi, I'm Aubin, and today I will share a story of how I caught my wife cheating. I travel once or twice a month, and the trips can last from 1 to 3 days. So I'm out of the house 1 or 2 nights. I started to have a suspicion that something was going on because every time I would come back from a trip, the sheets would be changed on our bed. I asked her about it, but all she said was, "I know you like having clean sheets when you get home." I decided to set up cameras around the house. "You're just being paranoid," she told me. This neighborhood has never had a break-in. I didn't see anything, so I decided to put a tracker in her car too, so I'd be able to see where she went and where the car was located. While I was out of town, I saw one night that she spent the night at a hotel. When I got home, I plotted how to catch her. I told her I was going out of town a few days later, but I was actually staying to spy on her. As soon as I left, she got into her car and drove back to that same hotel. I drove there and waited, and eventually saw her and Loverboy come out of the hotel, kiss, and part ways. I planned on confronting them at the hotel the very next round. When they exited and did their usual parting kiss, another woman that I found out later was the other guy's wife burst from between the cars in a sprint, carrying a tire iron. Neither of them saw it coming. She whacked her husband first, and my wife next. Hit them both several times, dropped the tire iron, and left. Both were motionless but still breathing. Trying to decide what to do, 2 security people ran from the hotel to check on them, one of them calling for help. I watched the whole thing unfold with paramedics whisking them both away. Someone from the hospital called me and told me where she was. I went there and found her room, and stayed with her for the rest of the day. She finally awoke and told me what happened. Everything about the affair and the attack, and I told her I'd be filing for divorce. Her lover's wife was convicted and is serving 10 years for multiple aggravated assaults.
Hey, my name is Samantha, and I'm 25 years old. This happened about a year ago. Everything was spread out over a couple months. I'm known for being a very smiley, bubbly, and social girl. Okay, here is my experience. At the time this happened, I was the only person who took orders, answered all phones and customer questions, as well as greeting and cashing out to-go or delivery orders. It was mid-December, and where I live, we have a massive Christmas festival and tree lighting. So at the time, I was getting multiple calls asking if we'd be open, any specials, etc. I answered the phone, and the typical script was said, blah, blah, blah. He was nice, but after I answered his questions about our restaurant, he started asking questions about me. Age, how long I worked there, if I was from where the restaurant was located. I felt weird, but made an excuse that if he didn't have any more questions about the restaurant, I needed to go. He told me I sounded beautiful and he couldn't wait to meet me. It bothered me a little, but I soon forgot about it. Jump forward a few weeks. The festival is here and we're busy. I'm helping in all aspects of the restaurant, and our bartender comes and grabs me and tells me a man at her table wanted to speak to me. I thought it was a compliment. I told him okay and put my best customer service smile on and went over. Hi, everybody. I hope everything's okay over here. But I heard from our wonderful bartender one of you wanted to speak to me. A man staring. My God, you're as beautiful as I dreamed you'd be. It's me, the guy you spoke to a few weeks ago. You were so amazing, and I just loved you since then. I was visibly freaked. Oh, thank you. Is anything else the matter? Man replied, No, I just had to see what my new wife looked like. Oh, well, I've gotta go, y'all. Have a great night. I walked away a little nervous, but soon got distracted. The bartender comes over and tells me John wants to say goodbye. So I give a smile and wave, That was not good enough. He comes to me arms open and wants a hug. I awkwardly smile and try to give a distant side hug. Not good enough. He grabs my shoulder, causing me to face forward and gives me a really tight and hard hug. The night's over, and I ignore my uneasy feelings. I ended up becoming sick for a couple days. I come back and my manager comes to speak to me and tells me that John has called the restaurant around 56 times and would only want to speak to me. As we're discussing this, the bartender tells me someone wants to speak with me on the phone. I go behind the bar and answer. Guess who? It's John, telling me he loved seeing me and couldn't wait for us to get married. I hung up. My manager and I decided to block the number. I finished my shift and started walking to my car. I notice a car parked weirdly in the parking lot. I giggle and ignore it. The car pulled up and said something I'm not paying attention to, and I don't hear them. I get into my car and start replying to texts. I notice the same car is now parked beside me. The window is cracked, so I can see they're facing me, but I can't tell much else. The car then pulls up to each side of my car and stares at me from each side for 5 minutes or so. I notice it's John, so I'm scared. I was too scared to drive off, thinking he would follow me. The only thing I could think of is to call my restaurant colleagues. 4 guys come sprinting out of the back with knives, and the car drives off. We don't have cameras in our parking lot. Really creepy, I know. They calm me down and I drive home, watching everything around me. That night, my phone started acting extremely weird. Shutting on and off, out of control, as in apps are opening even though I haven't touched them, and has never happened before. I decided to shut my phone off completely, knowing I had another option of calling someone if need be. I wake up the next morning, feeling nervous. I get ready for work and head out to my car. As I'm pulling away, I notice something on the side of my house. I go up to see it, and it's 2 pocket knives. One appeared to have blood on it. The other was above my head, so I had to step back and notice the second knife was stabbed into a picture. I notice it's a picture of me at a store shopping. When I was done, I called the police. They take my statement and do the whole process you have to go through when reporting something like this. To make this long story a bit shorter, 2 other scary things that happened was pictures taken of me at random times, and areas were thrown all over my deck, and a note left on my car at work that said, "Hi, pretty, love you." The paper looked like it was soaked in blood. It was fake. So now the number is blocked. Everyone in my restaurant knows what this man looks like. I get walked in and out of my job by a male manager or coworker. I have cameras everywhere and weapons. I hate having to do this, but it's for my protection. Nothing has happened for a bit. I just figured others would find this interesting, or maybe it's happening to someone else and it makes them feel less alone. But hey, John, let's never meet again.
Subscribe to this channel to watch more such videos and press the bell icon for more updates.